blaring whistle hushed the living mountains. Its siren wheels whispers the clack. Vagons of Ferris were rusted in its aura and flung its body on the sturdy track. Its steam hazed the dawning sky, owning the silver lining and the sunshine. Beneath the mountains it streams alive, and far stretches the clouds in divine. Arose from the darkest sleep if had ever. I sat on the berth waiting for the tea. That swaying berth had lit the night, and the encased window holds the sea. Pull out the chronicles and stitch together. The cup of tea sits on the stool to mark the route that passed the night and spills the dawn a new day noon. Its pages flutters the breeze. I hold its corner with a gentle thumb, then push the clip to hold its apex, and the leaves of paper fall in some. The orange tint showers the oldest page. Sun had breathed the clouds' rogue, scored the flags on its way to home, and lifted the tea in an old man's vogue. The sip of tea drowns my soul, and the cool breeze brisks my tired body. In midst of strangers I sat lonely, and the strangers in the midst of holy were lost in the world of randoms. The wagon was filled with unheard names. Wipe the face of seldoms. The labors we do unrolls the blind on our fames. Crossing the wide river bridge, it hurls in the deepest of wild vegetation. The lush green leaves grew in the dark trunk forest, and seeing the fog came through my imagination. It snails in the jungle, the city life crowd. Our eyes were blessed with its bloom. When branches thumped our jolly wagons, we hushed our breath in its gloom. That course of journey propelled in and up down, we swept within the narrowhead tunnel, soaked the place that stains our skin. The unlit vision did fatten the tussle. The obscure passage unveils at the depot, when screeching the brakes hauled its motion, had heaved the trail still its noon. The hunger had grown to seize our notions. Trunks of metal dashed together. The restless crowd couldn't wait a moment. Sweat of one stamps the other's skin. They thrust their feet holding the token. I stood when settles the hood, and gently moved along the left open door. The floor clenched my feet indoors. I flew in its shade, seeing the plenty stores. Quiet seats catch the typical feast. I sat near the window behind the trees. The cook twirls the roti in heat and serves the meal those keepers at ease. The array of mountains entice my views. Behind the trees I sat adrift and engulfed the food served on the table. I uplift the glass, bending my wrist. The only meat I had to eat at once. No other stop could see the jaunting fare. Filled my gut with whatever they served. Had the ample of food to look nowhere. Its ominous haunch is creased for once. I loosed my pocket for what I served. Then flit my limbs to draw in the wagon and purse the seat I had reserved. Hubbub that emerged from the midst of throng. It planted my head in an unknown pleasure. The hush in the rush then prevails. The shimmer of its noise makes my leisure. Heaves the wagon with a jerk. The wagons with the wagons moved along the track. That breeze of day sways my hair, and the wagons with the wagons took along the pack. Bashed a hefty trunk beside my seat. She locks the latch with a durable lock and sweeps a cloth to clean her couch. She lifts her hand to mark the clock. The seat squeaks when she lounged. Folds her hands, then she looks around. Her frock twins the wall she reclined, and her foot rests on the rinsed ground. The wagon is filled with kinds of stands. The people it fills are so different, yet the real horse the track in wilderness, and sits together a group of ignorant. I unfold my humble as the sun sets down. The blanket is wool and it saves the cold. Shrank to half of my extent. The wind turns cold as the staunchy dusk is strolled. Flock of birds flew along the horizon. Our eyes gazed their flapping feather. Drew my blanket to steal some warmth, and it streams the wagon in gloomy weather. Our faces flash the tiredness, like that cloth which waves forever. It flaps its wings like a bird in the air, and loses its odor in the sun, however. Lanterns glowed across the vast land, where the diligent farmers lived for ages. Their huts spread across the acre. I mark the reason and seal the pages. It meanders in the grassy meadow, and ups and downs when it crosses the hills. Couldn't see the splendid blossoms when it ran through the steepy foothills. I pull out the luggage to feed my rest. At the tiniest of hunger alive, unfold the folder to draw some peace. Did finish the beans and then revived. Night had enchanted the land with its lullaby. The breeze puts me to rest, to sleep. Forgot the trails I chased in light. Laid on the berth and fell in the deep. Glimpsed a hand in the maze of shadows. It holds my hands like it knows my name. I stumble in the dust and shivering my fingers. It has stood so tall beyond its fame. Not a wrinkle it shows in its Asian face. The haze hides the truth behind. Trembling my legs stood at its tracks. The blaring whistle unrolls all that twined. Sky was covered with that faintful haze. I rose from my berth and left the fake. The dream I dreamt did strain my head. I sat on my seat forgiving the maze, and hold the cup of tea in my hands. Nothing seems real in the depth of its state. It's the journey we all have to take. Long goes the truth, and the destiny lies on the faith. The steel boat traced the end of my ride. The station seems quiet in the gloom. I unlock my luggage that sits in the hide. No flock I see, so it's safe to assume. Drew my boots and left its weight. I marched on the floor along its toe. Fog fills in the wagon when it opens wide. All the wealth it showed I did adore. Strolled along the shady passage. Could feel the emptiness in my heart. How glad I was to live the journey, and the spirit I had when had depart. A stall sat open in the street's corner. I flit its way to revive my mood. That lousy soul awaits for an order. I went its way, forgetting what subdued. His steering hand grinds the spices first, then chops the onions to stuff. The sun appears, diminishing the fog. Candles that glowed were then snuffed. Racks the braid and folds its apex. He sprinkles the salt to lift it strong. Flung the coin he forced at dawn. I unrolled the rack and moved along.